Hi, in this video for Leave the Light On, I'm going to show you how to bind your interior pieces. Now just to take a step back, you've cut all of your interfacing. Now you're going to have interfacing pieces for the exterior of the house and then interfacing for the interior of the house. The sets of interfacing are exactly the same. You've cut your rectangles for your lining for the interior of the house, and you've fused those rectangles to your interfacing. Now I'm going to show you how to do the windows real quick. I know there's instructions in the pattern, but I just want to make sure that you understand them. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your interior fabric and you've fused it onto interfacing. You're going to cut an X in that interior fabric using the windows as a guide. Then you'll simply take, and these small craft irons are the easiest thing to use on this one. You're just simply going to fuse that fabric to the inside of the interfacing, or the opposite side of the side that you've fused the fabric on. So you're just going to simply fuse it down. The next step is we're going to bind these interior pieces. Now most people know how to do a mitered corner, and in this piece, which is one of the end piece, this right here is a front back piece. This is the end of the house. You've got some odd angles, so I thought I would walk you through how to do a non-90 degree angle in a binding. So I'm going to take you over to the sewing machine. You've cut your binding 2.5 inches, and you've folded it in half, right sides out, and ironed it. Place that binding somewhere in the middle of the bottom. Now this bottom happens to be the narrowest bottom, so I'll show you how to sew those when you join your bindings. I'll show you how to sew that together. But you're going to just place that beginning of the binding somewhere in the center of the bottom of the side. You're going to start sewing very close to the edge. So here's the edge of my piece, and I'm just going to take a few stitches, probably 3 stitches. And then this is a typical mitered corner. You're going to fold your binding out to the right, and then you're going to fold it back up so that this fold right here creates a right angle to the next piece to be, the side to be sewn. So I'll continue on the next side. And I'm going to stop here for a minute. This next angle is not a right angle, but we're going to do the mitered corner very similar to a right angle mitered corner. So I'm going to sew to 1/4 before the edge of this piece right here. Lift my needle, fold the binding out so that the binding is straight with this next edge to be sewn, just like that. Fold it back like that, and here once again you're at this fold right here is at a right angle to the next edge to be sewn. Press her foot down, stitch to 1/4 inch before the next edge to be sewn, and I kind of eyeball it. Fold this binding out so that the binding is in a straight line with the next edge to be sewn. Fold it back again, you are at a right angle or a 90-degree angle to the next edge to be sewn. You'll hear me say that a lot, so it's like a broken record here. Sew to 1/4 inch. Fold out, fold down, make sure you've got that right angle. Match your raw edges. Go to the next corner, and this is more of a normal mitered binding. Stitch to 1/4 inch, fold that out, fold it back, and then now you're on the bottom edge. You're going to take just a few stitches. And you can back stitch if you want to. You can back stitch at the beginning also. It's not totally necessary, but you can do that. Now you're going to overlap the beginning of the binding and the end of the binding 1/4 inch and cut. Then we are going to take these two short pieces of binding. Now you can fold your end, your stiff interfacing, in half, no problem. And then I'll pin the ends together. Now the longer, all the other pieces have a much longer bottom edge, so it's not going to be quite as tight. So I'll slide that back in underneath. Hopefully I've got thread back there. And I'm going to stitch across with 1/4 inch seam. Now I want to remove my needle, don't want to sew over the needle. Stitch across with the presser foot, clip your threads, fold that out, and it's going to perfectly fit along the bottom of your end. Put it back in. Finish stitching along this edge with 1/4 inch seam, and that's how you bind your pieces. This is probably the most difficult one to bind. Once you've done that, you'll know how to do all the other pieces. So you're going to do 2 ends, a front and a back, and then your 2 roofs and your floor. And that's how you bind your interior pieces. Set these aside for a while. You'll finish using these in a later step.